What's going on, everybody? It's Anthony. I'm putting this up on my personal page too. Not a typical video for me. It's on all the Truth Will Set You Free pages as well as my personal. I'm just, a little fed up with certain things, and it's about time. People create videos where they complain about different things and different people and the fights they're going on, and sometimes they're cryptic, and I know that they're about certain people or sometimes even about me. This is one that I've been thinking about for a couple days because of something that happened, and I'm it's to the point where I'm like, after a couple of years of losing friendships and losing different people in my life based on basically seeking truth and apparently having a political position and dealing with that, certain things finally send me over the edge. And if a lot of you guys, remember how Truth Will Set You Free or Be the Change started, it started because at the beginning of COVID, I was like, somebody's got to talk about this. And it was about talking and finding and looking at data and all that stuff. But now I've just coming to a point where I want to have a very similar conversation and I don't want to talk about it very long. But it's something that just started eating at me. And a lot of you guys know I had the show Changemakers, and one specific guest who I've been friends with for a while, and this is not just about him, but it's starting out about him. William Hollis, King Hollis, one of the most talented, by the way, speakers, motivational speakers, people that I've gotten to meet, especially since I've started speaking. I got a copyright strike on a video that was agreed to have been shared, and I know that he's got a personal beef with me all of a sudden, and it just boggles my mind that this is a world that because of my quote unquote political affiliation, have been deemed a lot of different things. I haven't been able to get work in certain areas. I haven't been able to get jobs because I'm deemed this or Trump voter is a racist or white supremacist, or I don't believe in science and all these different things. And whenever something like a copyright strike happens, it affects a page that already is at risk of being taken down. So I asked nicely to take it down. Let me give a little bit of a backstory. So for those of you guys that don't know William, or King Hollis, he was a gentleman that I brought into my house a couple of years ago after meeting him at a seminar where I thought again, great guy, super talented. He's got a great story. He's got one of the most watched football speeches in the history of YouTube, and he does a lot of stuff with Motiversity. So I brought him to the house and we shot amazing footage. We went around Dallas and on my camera, by the way, and then with the help of Sacred Thomas, which I found out Sacred also has unfortunately got a copyright strike on his own work, might I add. It was actually his video that he created. Because I reached out because I want to contest the strike, because anything and everything on any page that I have, if there's any strike, it's not good because they're already looking to make sure that I'm demonetized or unable to even get views as is, which really ultimately I'm not trying to make a lot of money out of this because clearly that's not working. I would love to just be able to spread truth. So everything affects that. So I get the copyright strike, but the whole backstory goes, when I wanted to have him on Changemakers, it was right after he got asked to be on the Tom Bilyeu show. We reconnected after COVID separated a lot of people, and he and I put this, by the way, on my personal page. I never usually put stuff like this on my personal page, but we reached out, we started talking different things, and he's like, help me get gigs and I'll go ahead and, it'll be huge, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, we have slightly different messages in terms of what we do, but I appreciate it. I appreciate everything that he does. So after planning to get him on Changemakers, which again is a podcast, a show where I bring up people, I've had Daryl Davis, I've had American Ninja Warriors, I've had pretty big names in their own field and small names, big names across the board. So with him, again, he's a pretty big name. Obviously, he's got a decent following. Nothing special to the level that deems payment. But again, when I flew him out to Dallas, I paid for the theater that we'd record in, that he did this great speech, and I paid for his travel. I let him stay at my house. I treated him like a brother, which, might I add, he was great while he was there, very respectful, but he did take advantage of some things like, bringing drug dealers to my house. Like, again, not hard drugs, but like guys bringing a bunch of pot, like, but I let it go. That's a culture thing. And I was like, I'm cool with it. Whatever. Not my typical comfort zone, but I let it slide out of respect. So anyways, respect to him. And but we became very close friends. We became good friends in a short period of time. So anyways, right before we did Changemakers, within 24 hours of the show, which again does not make me any money. It's just something that I try to provide a podcast or a show that provides the viewer with something. I get a message from his team saying, hey, we don't do things for free anymore. Again, this is after he'd already agreed to do it. We don't do anything for free anymore. You have to buy 4 books at $50 a book for the booking fee. And I was like, this is not the, with COVID, I don't have the money that I used to have. My industry was gone. I literally lived a year with zero money coming in and just living off of savings. And I said, for William, can we cut a deal? Can we do 2 books for $100? I'll pay the $100 fee. Great. No hard feelings, nothing at all. He comes on the show. We give away 2 books, and Chris Vanetta, I know, watches a lot of our stuff. He had just gone through a really tough time in his life. He was one of the people that we gave one of the books away to. There's 2 people in the show that I gave a book to. Anyways, great show. Had fun. Couple thousand views at most. Nothing like super growth. It's not like he shared the episode with his platform or anything like that. So a week later, I asked, hey, how are those books coming? I get the response, and it said, he said, well, let me get the tracking number when I get home for you. Whatever. Week goes by after that. I'm like, I want to send these out. Chris was asking, the other person I remember was asking, and again, no response. Said, hey, now a month went by. I kept asking once a week. I sent text messages, no response on the book. So I just simply looked at the emails and I sent that to PayPal, which is how I bought the books. And I said, can I have my money back? And he, all of a sudden he responded when he got that. And he said, you need to take this off. And he blew up at me. And I guess that was the end of our friendship. Ultimately it was, to me, he goes, to me, that's selfish. To me, that's irresponsible with your platform, your power, your voice to do that. It's a simple thing. You in the world of business and life, if you say you're going to do something, you do it. I paid for it and I never got it. So I requested a refund. He blew up on me. I believe as though that was the end of that friendship. Anyways, that was about a year ago now. We don't talk much. I still talk about and always had positive things to say. I thought that was a little bit ridiculous. He also told me at that time, he's like, that was a fee to be on your show. And I go, no, it wasn't, because we never had a fee. That was a fee for books. And that was how you did it. And all you had to do is send the books. And I would have gladly spent the $100, but I didn't get to send those books out. So anyways, fast forward to like a week ago, I get a strike on my copyright strike from a video from 2019 that was shared between me, him, Sacred, and I think his social media guy to put up. We put these up on all platforms. But again, his team has decided that, you can't do that. So I emailed him. I go, because I contested the strike. I go, can you just take the strike down? Like, I'll remove any videos that you would like, because there's multiple videos with him that I recorded. By the way, this same video has footage that I shot off of my camera that I have the raw footage with. And of course, YouTube says that that's not enough and for this copyright strike for me to contest it. I'm sick of it. For somebody that is deemed this white supremacist and horrible person, there is a lot of people of color or Black people that I've supported over the years. And this is where I will name names. I have lost a lot of friendships of those just because I don't agree with their political opinion, even though all I have done is proven that I've given and given and given to people. William Hollis being one. I didn't give a ton, but I flew him out, shot him footage, talked about how amazing he is, had him on a show that he tried charging me for last minute, which is something you don't do a friend, especially somebody you bring into your house and you treat like family. And that's disrespectful across the board. And it's just the chip on some people's shoulder, and their ego gets the best of them. And I do believe around that time when Tom Bailu was calling and all this, when we reconnected, his ego clearly got the best of him, and it still has the best of him, because honestly, William should be a top 5, top 10 motivational speaker in this country. And I know most of you guys have probably never heard of him, and you should, because he's that talented. What stops people like that is ego, plain and simple. All I tried to do is I don't have his ability. I don't have his talent. I don't have his ability to speak to anybody. And ultimately, all I tried to do is try to help and foster that. And the one biggest thing was to drop the chip on his shoulder. And there was other things that I suggested about his speaking in terms of from the business side. I can't teach him how to speak from a business side. And I think he heard me, and he told me he heard me at the time, and that was them. But clearly this is now, and he's too big for any of those things that we talked about, and the disrespect, and how much that hurts me, because I do this for a lot of people. And I think it's ironic that I get deemed a racist and all these different things, when honestly, if I look back at my business deals in the last 10 years where I have given to businesses and given to my closest friends, one of my best friends was Juan Branch. Juan was one of my closest friends for almost a decade. Let him live at my house for free for a period of time that he said he would, eventually pay me a small amount of rent back, etc. And never got it. And I also invested in him and his business partner, DeLeon McKee's business, back in 2012, 2013. Gave $15,000 for this business. That, might I add, the business didn't just fail. It was, the money ended up being used for DeLeon's to keep his personal life going, his regular expenses, which is not really the way business expenses should be spent. But you know what? It was a loss. I took it as a loss. So completely done the wrong way. And of course, I maintained one of the closest friendships I've had in the last decade with Juan. And interestingly enough, like, his girlfriend and I got into a disagreement because I didn't hire her for a job. And Juan said, that's my dude, Anthony. Like, we just got to, keep things separate. And all well and good. I ended up maybe seeing Juan 10 times after that, 5-10 times. That was several years ago. He's been married. He's got married to her. And I have no friendship with him, interestingly enough. And again, I do think some of it is politics. I don't know what else it is, but I never needed anything back. But I think it's ironic that in this place that I've had obviously financial struggles in the last year and a half, trying to do something different, trying to do something that I believe in, which is seeking truth, talking about truth, being judged for that, losing friendships all across the board of people that all I have ever done is give to. And then to just kind of lose that friendship is mind-boggling to me. And also there was one point where I was like, hey, you ever going to be able to pay me back? And it's frustrating. And I've never said this out loud, but it's my closest friends. It's frustrating to see, like, people travel the world and do different things when you know that they just owe you a couple grand. And it's like, because that's something I would never do. I give it, and if I ever owe it, it's immediately paid back as soon as humanly possible. And again, it's frustrating. And that's the element. There's Boom. Boom is a rapper out of Dallas that I gave like $5,000-$6,000 for his tour. And again, I think he's unfriended me because of my political beliefs. Him and I have never had an argument, or even I've asked to have a discussion. I think back when all this started, I was like, let's talk about BLM, or let's talk about these different things. And of course, it was just deemed racist. The same guy that funded a tour and also gave some expertise on how to manage a crowd. He's very talented, but I'll be honest, he was horrible at managing a crowd in concert because he would play his songs too short. I gave suggestions that was never listened to, and whatever. And again, I don't think anybody knows who he is right now either. And all the talent in the world. And then you've got even some of my closest friends that I worked with that maybe were not, minorities or anything like that, that distance themselves from me because of my political voice, said that I shouldn't really, just because I have a microphone and a platform, I shouldn't be able to just speak what I feel. And which is ironic, because these same woke people, whether it be with COVID or race or whatever, it's ironic because some specifically, and this one I won't name names because this can be very, very, very dangerous for people, but some of these people would get drunk and drop words that you can't drop in this day and age, nor should you have been able to drop them anyways. And it got kind of pushed under the rug. And I always had people's backs for different things. And I find it very, very ironic that this is the place that we've got to, where I'm at a place where I've got to hold my hands in a bunch of different things, and I could use as much help as humanly possible. And those same friends that I was always there for, they're not there. I shouldn't expect them to be. But the one thing I should expect is the respect of knowing that I'm not the person that is the person they unfollowed and they unfriended. And that's pretty much the point of this. You look at somebody like a William Hollis that kind of sent me over the edge in terms of having this conversation. Um, but in all reality, I think it has to be said. And I think there's a lot of people like me that have always done right by the people around them, but because of how they vote or their political beliefs, they've been ostracized by both communities, minority and white people, if they're on the left side that just thinks they're shitty people. And I don't think that's fair. And I think people need to see more of what people like me do behind the scenes to help people, to make people feel like family, to give and give and give, and then to just technically be shit on by those same people. So if people wonder why I get so aggressive and so angry when people deem me as hateful or a racist or a white supremacist, this is why it bothers me. This is why we live in a completely backwards world. We live in a world where people will take how you check on a voting box or how you talk about COVID or masking or Black Lives Matter, which, I mean, let's be honest, everything that I originally said about BLM has turned out to be right. I mean, they're a completely shit organization that has demonized what it really truly should mean for Black lives to matter, which they do equally to white people. But it's a shitty organization. Not being able to call that out is why we end up having people buy $6 million mansions with money given that should have gone to Black people. So anyways, this is me airing my grievances and my frustrations. And I know some of you, I don't know, I know some of you probably are still friends with me on Facebook, some that I've maybe even named. I don't know. I want to say that it's unfortunate and it is a direct attack on your character for those of you that I named, because I do believe that you're better than that. And those that judge people like me for trying to stick up and have a voice, this is me also saying you should check your character as well. It hasn't been an easy year for anybody. It hasn't been an easy 2 years for anybody, some worse than others. And I just think a little bit of grace should be given and understanding of the actual individual and the person that is being attacked, because it's shitty. And for those that do follow William Hollis, he is a very talented individual, but talent does not mean that you can become an egotistical asshole. That's my speech. That's what I've got for you guys. Really just wanted to rant and get this out because I think it will feel better once it's out. And you know what? I want to give a shout out to one individual that has, even in prison, even in jail, has still always been there for me still to this point. And Cash is an individual that, again, I gave a lot to. He gave a lot to me. He gave me a bigger following. He allowed me to have a bigger voice. And we played well off of each other. And he got a lot of hate too, because I guess he wasn't perfect in his past, but he also acknowledged that he had extreme ownership. That's a great word. Extreme ownership in your actions. That's what a lot of these people don't have. And Cash and I still talk, not as regularly as we would like, but it's hard. I'm insanely busy and he's in jail for something that's a little bit ridiculous. And I have a goddaughter that's part of his, and I barely get to see my own daughter, let alone his. So I think he understands why I have not been able to see her since he went to jail. And I wish I could pop up there, but I can't. So with that said, I encourage anybody that's silently watching, because there is a few people watching. Let me see. A lot of people on my personal page, in fact. So there are some of those people that have been quietly judging me from the side. Please not. I get frustrated so much, and why I don't believe we live in this racist country, and why I am not personally okay with being deemed something like a misogynist or a racist or whatever it might be, because I am always consistently investing and giving to those around me, especially at a higher percentage. Actually, 90% of the things I've invested in, all of which have failed, have been minority run businesses. I'd have been okay with that because that's an investment and I understand the risk behind that. But at the same time, I did not know that risk entailed, well, when the going gets tough, you're going to be completely ignored and pretended as though you never did anything. Shame on you. Shame on all of you. And those that agree with this sentiment and have been in that place, I'm sorry. That's all I got. God bless. Take it easy.